It's set to move here in 50 seconds. Let me make sure to get set up with this screen here for you so that we can keep an eye. We'll keep gold up on the window. We're going to be talking gold a lot today. Gold and silver on my radar. S&P 500 also going to, of course, be in focus. We're going to pull up the euro here, and we've got 30 seconds. Euro strength is prevalent right now. We'll see if that's able to hold its own here as we get closer. We'll put dollar bottom right. So we got 15-minute charts all the way around, guys, and we are coming in on core retail sales, and then of course Empire State Manufacturing. We got several numbers. We'll be digesting and setting up trades here as we go on. Breaking news. All right, we got 5 seconds to go. Let's see if we get some volatility here this morning. Bit of volatility coming in here. Dollar actually gapped slightly higher on this particular brokerage. You can see gold shot down a little bit, and let's see if we can get the numbers. I don't want to miss this. Sometimes the numbers are just slightly delayed. There we go. Gold is making a bit of a move. Euro shooting up just a bit here, continuing its 15-minute charge higher after the again the refinancing rate out of Europe. Rate hike happened there. Euro looking really strong, rallying like 45 pips here, 40 pips or so this morning here just from this candle. Look at that. Dollar coming down. S&P finding a bottom here, it seems, for the lower time frames right now. Gold back up to 1929, tested 1930 just briefly. Euro dollar shooting up, breaking through these highs. Let's see if we have some numbers. Numbers are in. Here we go. Let's take a quick look here in terms of unemployment claims. First of all, jobs numbers important here in the U.S. We saw unemployment tick up. This is, of course, weak for the dollar and possibly what the Fed wants to see more of. Retail sales came out hotter than expected, so a little bit of conflicting U.S. data there. One strong, one weak. Empire State Manufacturing showed a lot of strength here. That's a lot of strength compared to the minus 15. We got 6.6, and core retail sales came out as expected yet again. An as expected number for core retail sales, and gold shooting up here a little bit. The reaction initially is dollar weakness, and we're seeing that kind of play out. You can see dollar breaking through this low of this morning. Day traders watching dollar, you'll notice that you just had a break through the lows. So let's pull up dollar here just for context. Yep, there goes dollar breaking through the lows. Really big push here. Again, it's very early. We just had the numbers come out a minute and 50 seconds ago. So you have to watch these things with a grain of salt. You know, a lot of times with news, you get a spike one way and a spike the other. I find it very telling if news is able to spike one way and hold its gains on a close. I talk about that very often in the streams here. So we're watching how these candles go. Now, of course, we could pull up the hourly chart. You can see a break underneath the lows and challenging this sort of concept of a higher low on the dollar index this morning. Dollar weakness, pretty strong. Dollar weakness, pretty weak, I guess, coming down. We'll take a look at some counters to the dollar. We've got pound USD here, making a bit of a push. You've got dollar yen, probably giving back some gains. Yep, dollar yen pulling back. Dollar is actually an interesting pair, in my opinion. You get pullbacks here. It might be interesting to watch some of those. Mika, what are you watching here today? Yen pairs, dollar pairs, what's got your eye? Anything?
Well, actually not much, to be fair, has got my eye. I'm currently in a trade on dollar Swiss short, which is a trade that I was talking to you guys about last week. It didn't only set up till now, but yeah, I'm currently short on dollar Swiss. I'm looking to see if we can get that trend going. Last week we were talking about on the higher time frames that we still have this bearish trend, so I'm still looking to see if we can come back down into these lows over here close to 0.88. And yeah, luckily for me, I got a nice entry on the retest of this area here. So I'm hoping to see if we can get back down to the lows. I've got a few places. In fact, price is actually almost coming into my area where I'm supposed to go break even. So I'll probably do that after the stream. Yeah, dollar Swiss looking good. Gold, I'm also going to see what happens with gold because we've had a big consolidation for gold for a while now. And it looks like we're starting to break to the downside. So I could be looking for shorts. I'm not quite convinced with the breakout just yet. I want to see a little bit more distance to the downside before I'm convinced with the sells, because we've just about pinched the 1940 support, and you know, it's not too far away. We could close back inside and we could be looking at possibly a fake out here. So I want price to push away a little bit more, see a bit more downside momentum, sort of what we had up here when price broke that support. It was a really nice big candle. We saw price really push away. So I'm kind of looking at for gold, and then I'll be looking for continuation south as well. And then possibly some buys later on, but I'm not quite convinced with the breakout yet for gold. Other than that, yen pairs look good as well, seeing a lot of bullish momentum, so I'm keen to get into buys for that one, for a lot of them, pound yen, euro yen, Swiss yen as well, but I want to see some bigger pullbacks, which I feel like won't come until next week, so gotta stay patient for that. But yeah, those are mainly the pairs I'm looking at.
Fair enough.
To the end of the week.
Yeah, and I want to come back to you, Miko, on that dollar Swiss concept that you talked about. So you mentioned trailing a stop to break even. Walk us through, like, okay, you have a trade. Obviously, that dollar slip here this morning was a good thing for your trade. How do you manage a trade that starts moving in your favor? I know you mentioned trailing stops. Do you, or not trailing stops, but moving a stop to break even? How do you manage a trade? Do you take partials? Do you move stops? How do you approach it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have a pretty mechanical system, and I have multiple, well, normally I have 2 or 3 take profits. If my risk was a little bit bigger, sometimes I have 3, but most of the time it's 2. In this case, I do have 3. So I basically look at swing lows of the market to manage my trade. So this is one I'm looking at. This is also another place I'm looking to take profit, and then finally the main support down here as well. So I'm looking to take partials at these 2 levels, and I'll close the remaining down here. So I look to take around 20% there, 20% there, and then 60% there. And then when price hits my first TP, I move my stop loss to break even. And once that is done, I don't trail my stop loss. So potentially there'll be cases scenario where price is trading down here, then it comes back and takes me out of break even. Again, with the way I trade, and I have quite big stop losses relative to my entries. Sometimes when I trail my stop losses, doesn't play out so well, so I like keeping my stop loss far away from price to let it have that room to get to my profit. But I basically don't do anything until it gets to one of those areas. So if it hits my TP, I'll take partials, hit my stop loss, I exit the trade. But yeah, that's more or less how I manage my trade.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, no, and thank you for that clarification. I think a lot of people, when I bring them on the show, we do of course talk entries a lot, but I'm always personally more interested in asking people about their exit strategies because, in terms of technical analysis, I think that in a lot of ways we have our various styles, but we generally look for very similar things. We look for trending markets or key breaks of structure. If it's going to be a reversal that's turning into a new trend, that sort of stuff is very talked about. But I think that where a lot of newer traders struggle is the exit plan, right? Are you going to take partials? Are you going to trail a stop? Are you going to, set and forget? There are so many different philosophies around exits, that it is pretty key. Now, Marco, I know I've asked you to do it before, but for maybe people, we've got 470 people in the audience. I'm sure there's people who are newer to you guys today. Give us a breakdown on how you would, obviously enter a trade, but focus heavily for us, if you would, just on how you would exit a trade, because I think it's such an important conversation.
Sure. So I did have an AU trade a while ago, which would be a good example. Let me just find it. Okay, so right here. So what I saw with this one, just a quick recap, was I was seeing again that momentum, and then I was looking for a flag formation, which we got right here. So first high, first low, second high, second low, and then I do a market execution after the close of this candle, 12 pip stop loss, so fixed stop loss, and I don't use a take profit. So basically now my stop loss is 12 pips and I wait for the break of the high. So here we did break the high, and then I move my stop loss underneath, you could say the swing low. So at this point my stop loss would be right here, so it would be reduced risk, and then I wait for the price to create another swing low, so price keeps going up. Okay, now it's pulled back a bit, breaks the high again, so I move my stop loss right here underneath this swing low basically. So let's pretend this line is the stop loss, so it's now here a bit more, and then I just wait. Price breaks the high again, so creates a pullback, breaks the high again, and I again move the stop loss a bit more into profit. And I think this candle actually did tag me out. Yeah, so right here I was out for around, I think it was 2.7% win. So that's how I do it. I just never use a take profit. I just use a trailing stop loss. Kind of works for me because my win rate is low, but my risk to reward, average risk to reward, is very high. So I'm looking for those home runs. I'm looking for the 8R, 10R, 12R, and more. That's where I make the money. So these 2R, 3R trades are not really making me any money. They're just kind of keeping me around break even. But in, let's say, 20% of the cases, there will be a flying trade which will go 8, 10, 15R. So that's my goal, to catch those.
Yeah, no, and I think when it comes to exit strategies, what's interesting is, obviously people will debate everything. They'll debate your entries, they'll debate, which strategies you're using or whatnot. But at the end of the day, do what works for you. But also what's important too is that, there are ways to trade both styles, well, I think, like where you are more quick to take money off of the table and get it out of the market. I think there's reasonable ways to do that. And then there's ways to also, Marco, like yourself and I, where we tend to be more on the trailing stops. There are criticisms abound for that as well, where, of course, with trailing stops, the frustration is that there are so many times where I have a beautiful entry that shoots in my direction. I get that stop loss just into slightly profit, and the market just shoots back, and then I'm out for a very, very small profit. And it almost just like perfect precision every time the comments flood with "Nick, you idiot, you should have taken profit." But but the thing is, you can if you look at it that way, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you'll never be profitable in trading, because it doesn't matter which style you implement. You're gonna feel dumb sometimes when the market does something crazy. If you're taking partials, which I think is probably a healthy in between, like Miko, you mentioned, placing a TP 1, 2, and 3, you're letting a trade run, but you're also removing some money from the markets. That's probably the most, I think, uniformly I guess moderate approach to having a little bit of the best of both worlds. And then of course there's the other extreme that we haven't really talked about, which is 1-to-1 trades, 1 to 1.5, 1 to possibly even 2 trades, where people are just taking their full trade, either getting stopped out full amount or take it for a profit full amount. But again, ways to do everything right. I think there's a lot more ways to do everything wrong. People put too much size on trades. There's way more things you can mess up than an exit style. Whatever you choose, there's pros. Whatever you choose, there's cons. And it's all about kind of accepting the good and the bad and just kind of sticking to a strategy. I don't know, Miko, what do you think? I mean, I know traders, everybody wants the Holy Grail system. What would you say to somebody who says to your strategy, they're like, Miko, partials, you're by the time it even hits your full thing, you're out of most of the trade. You don't even really capitalize. Pros and cons of a strategy. What would you say to that kind of concept?
Well, I would say I agree with what you said. I mean, when you look at it, there's so many ways to do the exact same thing. We're all here to make steady profits from the market. And if you choose this path, you're going to experience the advantages and disadvantages of that path. And if you choose that path, you can experience the advantages and disadvantages of that path as well. So the best thing to do is just accept, the benefits and the disadvantage of that path, and just keep doing it as much as possible. If you're seeing success in it, then it doesn't really matter what anyone says. There's many trades where I take partials, I'm seeing small profits, and then my account's kind of doing sideways, and then you get a few winners in your row, and then it pushes you in direction. I mean, I like taking partials because it kind of minimizes my drawdown. I experience very well in perspective, minimal drawdown because I take a lot of partials. So my account balances, my equity curve is very minimal. Then I have a winning streak. My losing streak is very small compared to my winning streak, even though they're very similar amount of trades. Like I could, win 4-5 in a row, also lose 4-5 in a row, but it's very minimal compared because the partials add up. So yeah, just keep doing what works. If it doesn't work, experiment. But I think you just need to persevere, really, because with enough practice, everything kind of does work, really, which is kind of what I found. Yep.
I mean, it's a lot. Half of it is, I think, just your position sizing and you know, people focus so heavily, and I want to come to you, Marco, on this too, because I know we've talked a little bit about this. People focus so much on the entries. I mean, I'm sure you guys on your channels, on your interactions with people, everybody wants that sniper entry. They want that perfect no drawdown entry all the time. And I mean, we've all been doing this long enough to know that it's very, very hard to get entries right all the time. And you know, you don't necessarily need to be perfect all the time to still make money. Like Miko said, there's many ways to do this, I think, and still be profitable. Marco, what do you think on all that?
So there is no holy grail. That's the first one. If there was a holy grail, trading would be very easy, and trading is super, extremely hard, and only like 3 or 5% of people actually make money in trading. So you have to deal with the ups and the downs of your strategy. For example, I have had trades running 10-15% that went all the way back and stopped me out for a loss because I used that fixed trailing stop loss rule. So could you handle a trade going 10% in profit and then stopping you out? So that's what makes or breaks a trader. I would say if you can't deal with that, if you can't deal with the variance or the probabilities, well, then just maybe trading is not for you. And trading is much harder than it's depicted on social media, especially on Instagram with the fake traders and stuff. So a lot of people get dragged into this thinking that it's going to be an easy road, sniper entries, and it's just not. It doesn't exist, basically.
Don't forget to check out the links in the description if you want our broker recommendation, access to our free Discord, free EDGEFINDER, or want to chat with us on Telegram. Remember, you can watch us live in the markets every morning starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have lots more free trading tools and content available on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching.